Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Hi, I'm Speeder. Okay, you might notice this is yet another new filming location. Technically I have kind of filmed from this location before, except I filmed with the camcorder on that desk when it was over here. And now I'm filming with the camcorder on the windowsill. So yeah. I did film a video on Keeper the Movies here, though, which should have been posted a little less than a week before this one, I think, if I have my filming schedule correct, which I might not, but yeah. I have all the time in the world right now, because I have nothing to do today, because it's Saturday, and it's summer. Anyways, yeah. If you have not seen the title of today's video, I will be doing the, I think, is this the 14th part of the side character tournaments? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, this is the 14th part of the side character tournament out of 15, so this is the second round of the semi-finals. Next video is the finals. Which should be posted, I think, the last week of June. Or no, this should be posted the last week of June, right? I'm not sure exactly, because I'm not filming on the computer right now, and I don't tend to because I found that I get better response from videos that actually have stuff in it that isn't just a blank screen, which makes sense. I was just struggling to find good filming locations with the camcorder and other such issues. But anyways, I find that this is probably the best lighting I can get in this house. It'd be interesting filming at night though, and it's like almost evening, so. Anyways. So, today, I am going to be comparing two characters. This is probably going to be a shorter one, I'm not sure exactly. Just because usually the semifinals and the finals are much shorter videos, because I have already talked about these characters a lot, so I don't feel like I have to talk about them as much. The last video was pretty short, so yeah. Anyways, so in this video, I will be comparing Keefe from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Halt from Ranger's Apprentice, Royal Ranger, and Early Years. So this video will contain spoilers for Ranger's Apprentice, Early Years, and Royal Ranger, not counting the last book of Royal Ranger, but actually it probably will because I'm like halfway through that. But I had to turn it into the library, and it hasn't come in again yet, which is unfortunate, so I'm reading Wheel of Time, book 6. Anyways, and as I do at the beginning of each of these episodes, I'm going to go over all of the previous rounds. So in the entry round, we had Luna Lovegood versus Lin Song. So Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter versus Lin Song from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Lin won. Then we had Dex Disney from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Fred Weasley from Harry Potter. Dex won. Then we had Nico D'Angelo from Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Heroes of Olympus, and The Trials of Apollo, though I don't think I included The Trials of Apollo in there, because I don't think I had read them yet, versus Annabeth Chase from Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and The Heroes of Olympus. Annabeth won. Then we had Tam Song from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Biana Vacker from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Biana won. By the way, this entire first round was chosen by a random number generator. For the parents. Then we had Imogen from The Ascendants versus Keefe from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Keefe won. Then we had Hermione Granger from Harry Potter versus Leo Valdez from The Heroes of Olympus and The Trials of Apollo. Hermione won. Then we had Halt from Ranger's Apprentice versus Ginny Weasley from Harry Potter. Halt won. Then we had Rodin from The Ascendants versus Jason Grace from The Heroes of Olympus and The Trials of Apollo. Rodin won. Then in the quarterfinals, we had Lin Song from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Dex Disney from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Dex won. Then we had Annabeth Chase from Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Heroes of Olympus versus Biana Vacker from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Annabeth 1. And then we had Keefe Sensen from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Hermione Granger from Harry Potter, Keefe 1. And then we had Halt from Ranger's Apprentice, Royal Ranger, and Early Years versus Rodin from The Ascendants, Halt 1. And most recently, we had, in the semifinals, Dex Disney from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Annabeth Chase from Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Heroes of Olympus, Annabeth 1. And like I said before, this video is Keefe Sensen from Keeper of the Lost Cities versus Halt from Ranger's Apprentice, Royal Ranger, and Early Years. We'll see who goes into the final against Annabeth. Yeah, so now that I have given spoiler warnings and the overview, if you haven't seen one of these before, basically, first of all, you should go back and watch the other ones, assuming that they don't contain stuff that has spoilers. Basically, I'm judging each character off of 4 things. First is their importance to the story. Some characters are very important, some are less important, some are important in different books more than others. Then we have relationship with the main character, whether that's friends, more than friends, enemies, rivals, whatever. And then we have realisticness, so some side characters are very realistic and some are less so. And then we have my own personal preference, which is both the most important and least important of these. It's the least important for the initial choice, but if there's a tie, it's the deciding vote. Because I'm the one doing this, and it's my opinions, so, yeah. Alright, let's get started with Keefe. Importance to the story. Keefe is basically one of the 3 characters who's like a main character. He is practically a main character. He's not the main character, but we even get his perspective in book 8.5. Which was necessary for the book to make sense. He's there for pretty much everything. He either messes things up or makes things better. His mom, Lady Gisela, is one of the main villains in Keeper of the Lost Cities. And he's apparently part of her plan for evil. And of course he runs away in the end to help protect Sophie, which I can imagine that's probably going to backfire. Also to protect himself, because he was suffering, which makes sense, but I also feel like that's going to backfire. Majorly. Yeah. Anyways, so let's see. Then we have his relationship with the main character, that being Sophie. Their relationship is complicated. It's good, but also complicated. Keefe often tries to do what he thinks is right without asking, which can make things interesting, complicated, but ultimately they're both there for each other, and while it's not always the most healthy of relationships, it is a decently healthy relationship. And I think that Keefe is always there for her, and is pretty selfless most of the time with her, which is good. Then we have his realisticness. I think that Keefe is a very realistic character. He has a lot of emotions that make sense from the trauma that he has endured throughout his life. And he's a very well-developed character who I have pretty much always loved, and he is one of my all-time favorite characters, which is why he's in this tournament in the first place. I mean, not all of these characters probably should have been in this tournament. I don't think that Jason Grace should have been in this tournament. I mean, I love Jason, but is he really one of my all-time favorite side characters? I don't think so. I probably should have put in someone else. Maybe Piper, but probably not, actually. I don't really know who else from Percy Jackson I would have put in. Grover. I should have put in Grover instead of Jason. Anyways. Yeah, but Keefe, well-developed character, one of my all-time favorites. Okay, let's move on to Halt. Halt's importance to the story is huge. He is the main character's mentor. and he will be included in the upcoming Mentor tournament after the Villain tournament. I believe it's either the Love Interest tournament or the Mentor tournament, and then finally the Ship tournament. That's all the tournaments I have after that. I don't know what to do after that. These are just what I'm doing right now. I don't really know what I'm doing. But, anyways, yeah, so, as I've said in previous videos, Halt is... He trained Will, who then trains... and because he trained Will, Will was able to do all of the great things that he did, including the treaty with Scandia. He was also able to train the first female ranger, Maddie, and not just Halt's training of Will, that's not his only effect. He was also almost a king, and he was the one who saved the kingdom against Morgorath in earlier, so I think that he has a pretty darn big impact. As for his relationship with the main character, that being Will, and technically also Maddie, and technically also himself, but we're counting Will and Maddie as this, I think that he has a good relationship with Will. He doesn't really have... I mean, I guess he has a good relationship with Maddie overall. I mean, they don't have as much of a relationship as he has with Will, but I think that his relationship with Will is good. Will can make him smile, and it's kind of like a father-son relationship or mentor-student relationship, which it's really good, it's healthy, and it's nice to see a good relationship. It's kind of like father-son, because Will doesn't really have a father figure. Then we have realisticness. Halt, I suppose, is realistic. He's a well-developed character, and we see who he is. I don't think he has shown as much range of emotion as Keefe has, but he is a well-developed character. We know who he is, we know his life, and I think that he is a pretty realistic character for what he's been through. Now, let us get into comparison time. Alright, importance to the story, Keefe or Halt? Oof. Keefe or Halt? Let's see. I'm gonna have to say Halt for importance to the story. He puts everything into effect, basically, and Keefe isn't always doing that, and sometimes messing things up. So I think that importance to the story, I think that's gonna go to Halt. Though Keefe is very close behind him. Very, very close. This was almost a tie, but I'm gonna just barely give it to Halt. Relationship with the main character, I'm again gonna have to give this one to Halt, because I feel like his relationship with Will is much more healthy. As for realisticness, I'm gonna give this one to Keefe, because I think he has more range of emotion and a better character arc. As for my own personal preference, again, this one goes to Keefe. I love him dearly, and as much as I love Halt, Keefe is one of my favorite characters of all time. So what does that leave us with? It leaves us with a tie, which is something that we haven't had for a very long time. And as I said, personal preference is both the most important and the least important thing. It is the deciding vote here, and since I personally like Keefe better, I'm gonna give this round to Keefe. Even though it is truly a tie, and I think they both could win, I'm going to give this one to Keefe. So that means, officially, the final will be Annabeth Chase from Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Heroes of Olympus versus Keefe Sensen from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Which is kind of how I expected it to turn out, because these are two of my favorite characters of all time. But I didn't really know. But I also kind of did. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm now going to go over my next 4 weeks of videos, if you want to stick around for that. I have 3 main channels. I do have a side channel that I'm not going to put out there because I kind of want to see what happens to it if it's not really connected to my other channels. It's one where I kind of read books aloud, starting with Ranger's Apprentice, actually. So, yeah. If you find it, cool. If you don't, yeah. But anyways, yeah. So my next 4 weeks worth of videos, starting with Keeper the Books, we have the finale of the final of the side character tournament, which, as I mentioned, is going to be Annabeth Chase from Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Heroes of Olympus versus Keefe Sensen from Keeper the Lost Cities. And then we'll start my next tournament, my 3rd tournament, starting with Dr. Hatch from Michael Vey versus Yasin Grigorovich from Alex Rider. Then Lady Gisela from Keeper the Lost Cities versus Morgorath from Ranger's Apprentice. And then we'll have a certain villain from Fablehaven, who I'm not going to say because, again, spoilers, versus Gaia, however you say it, Gia, maybe, from the Heroes of Olympus. Yeah, so that's for Keeper the Books. As for Keeper the Movies, the next 4 weeks worth of videos will be the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 6 review, the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 7 review, the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 8 review, and the Dragon Prince Season 3 Episode 9 review. As for Keeper of the Games, it's just going to be a bunch of Breath of the Wild until I run out of backlog, and then I'll have to decide whether I either want to start a new playthrough on the Talus Principle, a new playthrough. Potentially, I can maybe convince my mom to let me play Skyrim on camera, or just do a Minecraft playthrough. We'll see. But yeah, that is all I have for today. I'll see you in the finale. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.